So I get a lot of people asking me, what happened to Charmillionaire? We don't know what happened to Charmillionaire. Can you tell us what happened to Charmillionaire? Now, it's a question that's come up quite a bit, so I'm going to actually explain, well, where is Charmillionaire and what the hell happened to him? Now, please sub to the channel, and I'm going to tell you what happened to Charmillionaire. Now, he's an incredible entrepreneur who started his music career back in 2001. Now, why is he incredible? Well, all the way back in 2001, he was actually in this group, and he then went solo in 2002 and released 2 albums that he's very well known for, The Sound of Revenge and Ultimate Victory. But what makes him incredible is that he was going around from state to state selling albums and mixtapes out of the trunk of his car. And he sold that many mixtapes and albums that he acquired $1 million before he was even signed, just from the pure strength of going out every day and hustling a mixtape, an album to anyone that was willing to purchase it. Now, he sold a hell of a lot of copies of his album and mixtape doing that and amassed an absolute fortune. Now, most rappers were relying on record labels and executives and A&Rs and everything that comes with having a record deal to sell their mixtape, or other artists were doing shows and relying on that to sell their albums and mixtapes. And mind you, this was when the mixtape scene was very popular. You know, Charmillionaire actually had his own mixtape series called The Mixtape Messiah. And this was a series that he had, and he would often sell his mixtape anywhere he could. But he traveled all around the United States selling his mixtapes, selling his albums, selling his products that were all legit, and amassed a fortune, amassed $1 million doing this. And there weren't too many that were also doing this method. That is a real hustler, someone who was really determined from the start to make the most of their situation, to make the most of their talent, to make as much money as they could from pure and sheer hard work and determination. There's no doubt about that. Now, so Charmillionaire, had 2 incredible albums. He, had a successful mixtape career as well. He was, getting on television. His name was getting out there. He was buzzing in hip-hop and was the talk of the town. Now, he had quite a bit going on. He started moving into business ventures because he saw that music would not sustain him forever. So he realized that this was a very finite business, and he began to invest his money that he made from music in other ventures. This is where he started departing from music. Now, he did record a 3rd album that kind of lingered. When he left Universal, his album was shelved, and that was never released. And then he dropped other albums after that, and he began dropping less and less music. Now, really, every now and again, he might drop some music, but I'm going to tell you what he's actually doing now. So the actual last time he recorded was for Trey songs, and it was Trey the Truth. He recorded a song, if I remember correctly, called I'm on 3.0. It was a single. So Trey the Truth, that was back in 2017. I think they did a music video for that 2019 at some point. And if I'm not mistaken, Charmillionaire also dropped a project that featured it was like a greatest hits of his, like the singles that he had dropped from 2007 to 2014. So really it was only just a trickle of his music and music legacy. So he doesn't record much. Every now and again, maybe for friends, maybe for people that, he owes favors to. But apart from that, he's busy running many companies. And what he is he is a venture capitalist. And this is, in effect, what most successful artists are. They're venture capitalists. And I'm going to explain what a venture capitalist is. So It's someone that uses their money and invests in companies that are very nascent, that have potential to take off, and they usually, what they are they're new floats in effect, and they're just companies starting up that need capital to grow. So what Charmillionaire has done, and this he's been doing for a very long time now, for at least the last 10 years, he's been heavily investing in companies that he believes in, he strongly believes in, builds them up, invests in them, and then in some instances he takes them over and becomes their chief financial officer. So just to give you an indication of his venture capitalist funding company, it's called Upfront Ventures, and one of the many things that Charmillionaire has invested in that has done very well was Maker Studios. Now, this Charmillionaire put $1.5 million into, and it was to deal with kitting out cars to become self-driving, and this is something that was state of the art, and it's a bit risky given that self-driving cars are a bit of a hit and miss, but in this case, it is a very new market, and Charmillionaire saw the potential in this company, which he invested in, and was then sold to Walt Disney, the company, for quite a substantial amount of money, and Charmillionaire made a nice $20 million off his initial $1.5 million investment. Now, this is not the only thing that Upfront Ventures invests in. One of those things being a tour bus company Charmillionaire has also invested in, and other companies include Lyft, which is the competitor to Uber. Now, these small-time companies become big-time companies with the right people at the helm, right investment, the right growth strategies, and a lot of these companies have taken off. So this is how Upfront Ventures, the company that Charmillionaire owns and uses to put money into other startup companies, how these companies eventually grow and make money for Charmillionaire. Now, Charmillionaire has also invested in a social media app service for famous people, for celebrities to use to communicate to the fans. It's a bit like OnlyFans. It's a rival to that service, but it is its own unique service. And this is something that Charmillionaire is now putting a lot of time into. So he is a very busy man. It takes a lot of time and effort to keep these companies running, and Charmillionaire is a hands-on man, so he's not only investing in some of these companies, he also owns huge stakes in them, and as a result, he is involved in the day-to-day operations of some of these companies, and that's what happens when you own a huge percentage of shares and you sit on the board of directors, and this is what Charmillionaire does now with most of his time, so he doesn't have much time for music. And his next biggest thing, his social media app, could take off and be bigger than anything he's ever done before and make him quite wealthy. At the moment, it says that Charmillionaire's net worth is $50 million, but this man is dedicated to growing that wealth and is looking for something to really take him all the way so he can be one of the biggest names in hip-hop, one of the richest names in hip-hop. And even though he doesn't really rap anymore, he has gone the business route and does provide opportunities to other artists. He runs imprints, he runs other things. He has many businesses. So that is what's happened with Charmillionaire. A lot of people may ask, and he is a very busy man. He is someone that doesn't have time for social media. He doesn't have time to make music and is on to bigger and better things, though I'm sure we will hear another project from Charmillionaire at some point. One day he will come back to the music. I have no doubt about that. But for now, he is continuing with his upstarts, with his investments, with the day-to-day operations with some of these companies that he has a huge investment in. So that answers the question. For the people that often ask me, where is Charmillionaire, I'll send them the link to this podcast when they ask me, so that way it's all explained. Anyway, be sure to sub to the channel. I'm MC Rapology. Peace.